Good news.
Government's been in shutdown for now a week. And there's no end in sight in terms of when the government will reopen. The last shutdown we had, I believe, was back in 2018.
Right.
2019. Yeah, I think it was like 2018, 2019. Because I remember.
Luckily, they've already put up this banner so that you really know that it's shut down already. You know, we throw up the Spirit Halloween banner on it, and everyone knows. You know,
Wait,
it's out for you. Do you
what?
Spirit Halloween that are always on abandoned buildings? You know, during Halloween.
Oh,
Spirit
sure.
Halloween. The Chad will get it. It's okay. Chad knows about it. It's fine. It's a meme.
So many federal workers are on furlough right now.
Right.
There's some who are essential who have to come in even though they're not going to get paid. So the deal is, and this was a law that was passed by Trump in his first term, that if the government is shut down from no fault of their own, then when the government reopens, you get back pay for the time that you were on furlough. Makes sense. But now Trump is saying certain federal workers, and we'll get into that in a minute, he's saying now that some federal workers should not receive back pay when the government is reopened. And shout out to Common Dreams. Don't read from them a lot. This is a new person.
Yep.
Stephen Praeger, who's first time reading articles from him. But he reports union fury after Trump suggests not all furloughed workers will receive shutdown pay. The livelihoods of the patriotic Americans serving their country in the federal government are not bargaining chips in the political game, said the president of the country's largest union of federal employees. So Stephen continues. The American labor movement erupted in outrage last Tuesday, at the time of this recording, after President Donald Trump appeared to go back on the government's promises to provide back pay to all the estimated 750,000 furloughed federal workers when the government shutdown ends. Last month, as a shutdown loomed, the U.S. Office of Personnel Management, an independent government agency that oversees the country's civil service, published guidance for federal agencies stating definitely that after the lapse in appropriations has ended, employees who were furloughed as a result of the lapse will receive retroactive pay for those furlough periods. This follows a federal law, the Government Employee Fair Treatment Act, signed by Trump during the last shutdown in 2019, which requires that furloughed employees shall be paid for the period of the lapse in appropriations.
Right.
But the Trump administration has begun to walk back that promise. A memo from the White House Office of Management and Budget obtained by Axios on Tuesday stated that the administration's positions was that employees were not all entitled to back pay and that the money would have to be specifically appropriated by Congress. Does this law cover all these furloughed employees automatically? The conventional wisdom is yes, it does. Our view is no, it doesn't, a senior White House official said, adding that despite what guidance other agencies may have given, OMB is in charge.
Yeah, the budget people.
Right. So here's Trump here at a press conference where he was asked about it.
Right.
And let's see what he says.
Is it the White House's position that furloughed workers should be paid for their back pay?
I would say it depends on who we're talking about. I can tell you this, the Democrats have put a lot of people in great risk and jeopardy, but it really depends on who you're talking about. But for the most part, we're going to take care of our people. There are some people that really don't deserve to be taken care of, and we'll take care of them in a different way.
Why do you say some federal workers should not get their back pay? Why do you say some?
Well, you're going to have to figure that out, okay? Ask the Democrats. It's almost like a kamikaze attack by them. You want to know the truth? This is like a kamikaze attack.
Y'all did that shit.
They almost, you know, they have nothing to lose.
The law says
you have nothing. Y'all did that shit.
Reopens that workers will receive their back pay. So are you going to define the law there, or what do you?
I follow the law, and what the law says is correct, and I follow the law.
Have you identified programs to eliminate under this shutdown?
Oh, sure. Sure.
Which ones?
We have a lot. I'm not going to tell you, but we'll be announcing it pretty soon. But we have a lot of things that we're going to eliminate and permanently eliminate. Because of the shutdown, which I think they made a big mistake, we're able to take out billions and billions of dollars of waste, fraud, and abuse. And they've handed it, you know, on a silver platter. And you know Russell Vogt, he's a serious person, very serious person. And he's sitting there and he's getting ready to cut things.
How many permanent jobs are you talking about to eliminate?
Well, I can tell you, I'll be able to tell you that in 4 or 5 days if this keeps going on. If this keeps going on, it'll be substantial, and a lot of those jobs will never come back. But you're going to have a lot closer to a balanced budget, actually.
Okay.
Right. But you notice how he gave away the game. He basically was like, oh yeah, I want this to happen so that we can permanently axe out more federal offices a la Doge did earlier in the year. So he's not even pretending that he cares. He's just like, yeah, I want this to happen so that we can cut more people permanently from the federal government. So, you know, but I mean, don't mess with people's checks, man, especially if, like, again, we're coming up on the holiday season. So people are traveling, people are, you know, getting stuff for their families or starting to prepare now for the holiday season now. And like,
I mean, he's been using this as a, like, you know, he's blaming it all on the Democrats, even though they did that shit, you know.
Right.
I think he had something like where if you called certain federal hotlines or whatever, it would, like, instruct you to, you know, yell at the Democrats or whatever, like that kind of shit. I don't know. I mean, I've also seen, like, the only other people talking about this are, like, NPR types who are, like, you know, Trump fearmongery and are going to take anything to, like, yell at the guy about, you know?
Right.
So it's hard for me to tell where usually it's somewhere in the middle between the two things. And usually it's Trump just playing the media for a week and then walking it back to like 10% of what he talked about, you know?
Right. But again, but the idea now is that now you can argue the Democrats are doing the right thing in terms of not, it's basically a big game of chicken right now, but it sucks that, like, the American people are once again
in the middle of it. Right.
Yeah, and especially people, like, especially in times like these where money is tight anyway. Like, you're forcing federal workers to do, you know, like working at DoorDash or like selling shit or like having to take out loans in order
a lot of
to
them are already working multiple jobs, like, you know.
Right. But then especially for the ones who are essential, you have to work and not get paid. So, and I think the reason why the last shutdown ended was flights were fucked up because people were not coming in.
Right.
So, you know, so flights were affected. And actually, I need to think about that as I travel this weekend. And
also, this whole Doge, like, it reminds me, like, let's gut all the fucking government things that people actually use. Let's gut that shit. Put it all into the military because that's where our budget gets balanced. We all know, you know, and then act like later, well, what is the government doing for you? You know?
Right.
Like, the Democrats want government to run everything and be shut the fuck up.
Right.
You don't know shit.
And for people, you brought up something where I wanted to say too, like for people who are like, oh, these are federal workers, that doesn't affect me. Well, if you get federal services from the government, like SNAP, like any assistance that you get from the federal government, that affects you. So
postal service, all that shit.
So this is going to have a trickle down effect. If this continues to go longer than it needs to.
Yep. I'm with you. So you there?
Yeah, and I got it. Yeah, my thing cut out again. All right. But anyway, the American Federation of Government Employees and union represented over 820,000 federal workers argued that by denying back pay to furloughed employees, the Trump administration was contradicting both the law and its own assurances to employees. The frivolous argument that federal employees are not guaranteed back pay under the Government Employee Fair Treatment Act, it's an obvious misinterpretation of the law, said Everett Kelly, the AFGE's national president. It is also inconsistent with the Trump administration's own guidance from mere days ago, which clearly and correctly states that furloughed employees will receive retroactive pay for the time they were out of work as quickly as possible once the shutdown is over. Senator Patty Murray, the top Democrat on the chamber's Appropriations Committee, said on social media that the White House memo was another baseless attempt to try and scare and intimidate workers by an administration run by crooks and cowards. Move forward. The letter of the law is as plain as can be, Murray said. Federal workers, including furloughed workers, are entitled to back pay following a shutdown.
Go back one. There it goes.
Yeah. The National Federation of Federal Employees, which represents about 110,000 employees, also chimed in with outrage over the decision by House Speaker Mike Johnson to send members of Congress home last week as the shutdown negotiations stalled. Johnson has maintained that he will not negotiate on Democrats' demands to reverse cuts to a critical health insurance subsidy unless they agree to fund the government first. So let's see what this snake has to say. So go ahead and play the clip.
Yes, sir.
With regard to the whether the furloughed civilian employees of the federal government will receive back pay, it is true that in previous shutdowns, many or most of them have been paid for the time that they were furloughed. But there is new legal analysis. I don't know the details. I just saw a headline this morning. I'm not read in on it, and I haven't spoken to the White House about it. But there are some legal analysts who are saying that that may not be appropriate or necessary in terms of the law requiring that back pay be provided. So I'm sure that'll be there will be a lot of discussion about that. But there are legal analysts who think that that is not something that government should do. That, if that is true, that should turn up the urgency and the necessity of the Democrats doing the right thing here. Even more pain, more than I just listed, for more people.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't understand how these people still get paid, even in the midst of this.
Even if they didn't, they get enough fucking like backwater funding that it wouldn't matter. You know?
Sure.
Like,
but still, it's the idea of like, why should people suffer for doing their job over these idiots who have really, for all intents and purposes, have no motivation or can claim to have no motivation in order to get their way. So, I mean, I would propose, and I've said this for years, that if the government shut down, they shouldn't get paid. Let's see how fast they're able to come to some kind of consensus when their money is on the line.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Why are we still here? Just to suffer?
So let's get back into it. On NBC's Meet the Press Sunday, Johnson has described the potential layoffs of thousands of workers as regrettable. Almost sounds like Charlie Kurtz, like with guns, like what did he say? He said it was like
unnecessary evil or whatever. Necessary evil.
No, he said it's shoot, what did he say? But it was just kind of almost dismissive.
Yeah.
Anyway, by adding that it was not a job that Vought relishes, but he's being required to do it by Chuck Schumer. On Thursday, however, Trump has described the shutdown as an unprecedented opportunity to carry out Vought's proposals for cuts to programs and employees across federal agencies.
Yeah.
The livelihoods of the patriotic Americans serving their country in the federal government are not bargaining chips in the political game, Kelly said. It's long past time for these attacks on federal employees to stop and for Congress to come together, resolve their differences, and end the shutdown. So I just, because you know what? It's one thing to listen to even journalists or even these idiots. I wanted to play a couple of TikToks of what people have to say regarding the shutdown, or just kind of giving more of the human perspective on it. So this is the first clip. So this is, I'm not sure where I got this from or who is speaking here, but basically how this shutdown is going to impact all of us in some way, shape, or form, whether or not you work, whether you are a federal worker or not. So let's play this first TikTok.
So the government is shut down. What does that mean for you? Essentially, that any customer service level interaction that you need to have with the federal government will be impacted. And that's according to Matt Glassman, who is a senior fellow at the Government Affairs Institute at Georgetown University. Now, this is because a lot of government workers will be furloughed, meaning they will not be permitted to work. And some essential workers will still have to go to work, but they might not get paid until the government is funded again, which will cost taxpayers money. Now, you won't have to worry if you're traveling because airport workers and TSA are essential workers. However, if they protest and don't show up to work because they're not getting paid immediately, you could see some issues at the airports. Entitlement programs like Social Security, Medicaid.
So, as I said, that's what happened the last shutdown. That made them reopen it because people were calling out. So, you can't fly the planes or you can't open the airports when people are called out, like, safely. So that affected airlines being delayed or canceled. So that had a trickle effect. So that was probably one, if not many catalysts that were like, okay, we need to get going here. So keep that in mind, especially if you're traveling. And as I said earlier, be nice to the TSA agents. I know some of them can be dicks, but no one should have to not do their job and not get paid for it and not know when they're going to get paid.
Yeah.
So any federal worker that you come in contact with, give them extra grace. So
what you should be doing for any service worker. I hate people that are fucking shitty service
you should
people.
be like, even if they're shit.
Yeah.
You should still be cordial with them.
Y'all don't know what their day's like.
Right. And they have to deal with people and mostly they're not even really the issue. It's just more or less the higher ups, really. So, they're trying to pay their bills too. So, just be nice to them or just give them extra grace and extra time, and try and make their job at least a little easier, especially now. But anyway, let's continue.
Medicare, those will continue to work throughout a government shutdown. But remember what Glassman said about customer service. If agencies like that furlough workers, you could see some customer service issues, and it could be harder to enroll in newer benefits. Now, national parks might be closed. They were in 2013. And while they stayed open during the 2018 and 2019 shutdowns, they were understaffed, and that led to, unfortunately, vandalism and, again, some issues with visitor services.
Yeah.
And other agencies will be impacted. During the last two shutdowns, agencies like the SEC and FTC had to put some investigations on pause, and the DOJ said that they had to pause 60,000 immigration hearings. And keep in mind that government workers don't only live in Washington, D.C. They live all over the country. So, a company that relies on the government as a client or, government contractors, they could be impacted too. Let's say, the security guard at the Smithsonian Aerospace Museum, that museum shuts down. she doesn't have a job. Or a construction worker who is doing a project on a government building. If the agency that hired him isn't funded, they can't pay, and he's got to put that project on pause. And the impact of this can trickle way down to small businesses. Like in 2019, baristas at Ascension Annex, which is a coffee shop right around the corner from the EPA in Dallas, said they rely on tips, and none of their regulars were coming in to buy coffee because they were furloughed. They weren't going to work. The good news is we talked to Maya McGinnis, who's the president of the Committee on a Responsible Federal Budget, and she said most people will not be impacted. If you're going on vacation to a national park, you might be disappointed, but generally Americans won't feel the impact. However, she said the longer this lasts, the worse it could get.
Mm-hmm.
So, again, if you're federal workers, if you come in contact with them, Grace, and especially contractors too, who, you know, who are paid through the federal government, that's many of my friends. So yeah, so again, like the longer this goes on, the worse it's going to be for many people, especially as everything's getting more expensive. Like, and yeah, like bill collectors are not going to care that you're on furlough.
Right. Yep.
So they're like, we want our money. So, you know, so again, it's the idea of like fucking over people and their livelihoods over bullshit, essentially. Meanwhile, these guys get their salaries. They make sure of that. But anyway, here's a first second TikTok.
Playing.
Can't hear.
Can't hear? No.
No.
Here we go.
So apparently now Donald Trump is saying that federal workers who are not getting paid because of the shutdown will maybe not get their back pay, which federal workers getting back pay became a law after the last time the government shut down for 5 weeks. And that was under which President Trump 1.0, his first term. This is all very deliberate. What he is wanting to do is to make people panic because people need to take care of their families. Things are already expensive. Now people aren't going to be getting paid. They're going to panic, and then he will be in a position, he and his administration will be in a position to lie and say, this is all the Democrats' fault. Be mad at them. Straight out of an authoritarian playbook. Create a financial crisis because you don't really care about people when you're an authoritarian, and then blame someone else, give them someone else to be angry about. So that's what's happening. I hope the best, truly, for anyone that's about to face really hard times because of this asshole in office. But I also hope that he does not care about you. He just wants you to be mad at the Democrats for his own political gain and for the party's own political gain.
Yeah. We got one more. What at least we're trying to end on the funny a little bit, a la boats. So I think you'll like this one. So
Okay. I'm playing. Is this the same one?
No.
So apparently now Donald Trump is saying that
one is. Hold on. I got it. You're doing the thing. I hope. Unless you put the wrong one in. Which you might have done.
Did I?
So
Let me check.
17?
That's what I'm on. I have this. This is what I have on 17.
apparently now Donald Trump is saying that
Same one as 16.
Hold on. Oh,
Unless I skipped one.
it is.
Yeah, if you want to like send it to me, I can just play it. If you have the TikTok or whatever. But
we'll do it at the end of the show. That might be a nice way to end.
Okay.
So,
Cool.
Yeah, so I'll give it to you through Discord if I get. Yeah, I have it somewhere, but yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, again, I kind of wanted to do this because I didn't see really anyone in our space kind of talking about this really, and I guess it makes sense because we're distracted by other
Yeah, and
people
this
at the moment.
could be a distraction in and of itself. You know, we got a lot of shit going on foreign policy wise too.
Well,
but it's
right, but
it's like constant shit with that now. You know, like it's not even. It's just constantly the next thing is happening. So,
right.
You know,
but no, I think it's just it's important. I think to kind of talk about this too because this is the stuff that will affect all of us, especially given if this goes on longer than it needs to be. I mean, like I said, it's already gone on for a week. So, the longer it goes on, it's going to affect our neighbors who are going to need federal services in order to live. Is going to affect a lot of your friends. And as one person said already, not all federal workers live in DC. They live around the country. So this can very well be your neighbors who are struggling, the longer that it is. And depending on how much you've saved, or if you're like in a 2-income or multiple income family, people may not be able to live without. Most people are living paycheck to paycheck, even federal workers. So it might be very hard for them to survive even like a week without getting paid. So imagine going for close to a month, if not more. And again, we're heading into the holiday season. Things are going to get cold. Food is going to get more expensive, especially over the holidays. Heat is going to probably be as expensive, if not more, than it has been over the past couple of years, especially if you live in the northern climate. And, so again, it's like pawns. We're being played for pawns on both sides. Now, granted, I can, for once, somewhat respect what the Democrats are doing, but at the same time, it's like, y'all are also part of the problem too. So I can't really give you that much credit for doing the bare minimum. So, but at the same time, I also would be like, and I'm not seeing this from Democrats, is, Republicans and basically the main issue, or at least one of the main issues surrounding this, is healthcare in terms of the ACA being gone. Well, at least the subsidies being gone. And, and the reality is, if that is not funded, healthcare is going to go up by at as much as 75%. So, and that's going to fucking affect everybody. So, and I think even Marjorie Taylor Greene basically had to wave the white flag on this because she realized, oh, my kids will be affected by it. So I'm not a fan of this shutdown. So it's funny how it takes, as we say all the time, when it affects you personally, then you give a shit. So, but how about having that empathy even when it doesn't necessarily affect you, especially given that you are a leader or a representative of constituents that you serve? So I don't know. But again, as I said, if you have neighbors who are federal workers, look out for them, check in on them to make sure they're all right. Because it's going to be a hard time for them, especially if they have to keep going for this for however long until the government reopens. And then is a question, right? The fact that there's even a question whether they're going to get paid is totally ridiculous. But yeah, so I don't know. It's just a mess. So as I said, give your federal workers grace at this time, even if their work or their service sucks, you know why, especially more so now. So be nice to them. And I don't know why for a story like that will be demonetized, because I think this is kind of important, but we are. So if you want to support us financially, And again, don't give if you cannot, but if you can scan the QR code that you see on your screen, or you can go to the Ko-fi link and type it in that you see at the bottom of your screen. Or if you're in your YouTube chat and we're live, you can type in !donate, all one word, and a Ko-fi link will pop up, and you can donate as little as $1 there. You can also donate on Substack, PayPal, and Cash App if you prefer giving in those platforms, and those links to those methods are in the description below. And as we always say, we do this not for the love of money, but to spread truth to you all. That being said, if you want to help us, the free way is to like and subscribe, and please share this stream or the clips once we clip it out to fight the suppression. And make sure you leave a comment. Apparently, they say it helps with the algorithm push. So make a comment. So what do you think? Obviously, do you think that people deserve their back pay? And how do you think the government is handling this issue? Do you know anyone who's a federal worker that might be affected by this, or you, in terms of federal services that you might receive or assistance? Like, how do you think this might affect your neighbors or yourself if this shutdown goes much longer than it needs to be? And help us get to free K. I think we're at 2,600 now, so that's just great. So we're probably on track to hit free K by the end of the year. And thank you for watching.